शुक्र खुदा में रज़वी हो।
वाह क्या मर्तबा है गौस है बाला तेरा, वाह क्या मर्तबा है गौस है बाला तेरा, ऊंचे ऊंचों के सरों से कदम आला तेरा। सर भला क्या कोई जाने के है कैसा तेरा, सर भला क्या कोई जाने के है कैसा तेरा। औलिया मलते हैं आंखें वो है तलवा तेरा, औलिया मलते हैं आंखें वो है तलवा तेरा। जो वली कब्ल थे या बाद हुए या होंगे, जो वली कब्ल थे या बाद हुए या होंगे, सब अदब रखते हैं दिल में मेरे आका तेरा, सब अदब रखते हैं दिल में मेरे आका तेरा। और सारे अफ्ताब जहां करते हैं काबे का तवाफ, सारे अफ्ताब जहां करते हैं काबे का तवाफ। काबा करता है तवाफ है दरे वाला तेरा, काबा करता है तवाफ है दरे वाला तेरा। तुझसे दर, दर से है सद और सद से है मुझको निस्बत। तुझको दर, दर से है सद और सद से है मुझको निस्बत। मेरे गर्दन में भी है दूर का दौरा तेरा। दुरूद पाक अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला सय्यिदिना नबीना व मौलाना मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि सय्यिदिना मौलाना मुहम्मदिन सलातन दाइमतन मक़बूलतन तुअद्दी बिहा अन्नहुल अज़ीम। Regarding the awliya Allah, the blessed and the chosen and the beloved friends of Allah, those who have been given a special status and a special excellence in the court of Almighty Allah. It has been mentioned in the Hadith and Mubarakah that beware of the sight of a believer, beware of the sight of a true believer, beware of the sight of a true believer. Who is that? That person who has reached that maqam of excellence. Be cautious of his sight. Why? Because he sees with the Noor of Allah. Because he sees with the Noor of Almighty Allah. Because it is Hadith Qudsi that when a person becomes close in the court of Allah and Allah makes him his beloved, and Allah says, I become the eyes with which he sees. I become the eyes with which he sees. I become the ears with which he hears. I become the hands with which he touches. Until the end of the narration. I'm being brief, you've heard it many times. But Allah Almighty is free from eyes. Allah is free from eyes. You and I need eyes to see. Allah does not need eyes. Allah is free from need. Allah is free from want. This is our aqidah when it comes to Allah. This is what we believe. You and I need ears to hear. Allah does not need anything. Allah hears and sees as He wills. He sees everything. He hears everything. Allah is Qadir Mutlaq. He is the absolute, almighty, most powerful. If Allah wills, He will make our eyes hear. If Allah wills, that is Allah. If Allah wills, He will make our eyes hear and our ears see. This is the Qudrat of Almighty Allah. That if He wills, He will make your eyes hear and your ears see. So Allah is free from eyes. Allah is free from all human forms and features. But He's saying that when a person becomes my beloved, I become the eyes with which he sees. I become the ears with which he hears. But Allah is free from eyes. Allah is free from ears. But He says, I become the eyes. What does it mean? That when He sees, he sees with the Noor of Allah. He sees with the special and the very grand gift that Allah bestows upon him. This does not mean literally. It means that he sees with that special power that Allah gives him. Because the awliya, the pious servants of Allah, what does it mean? One other meaning is that if you look at them and if you observe their lives, you will see that they only look at that which Allah has commanded them to look at. They only hear that which Allah has commanded them to hear. They abstain from everything else, not like ordinary people like you and I, where the eyes are very easily strained because of our nafs. But the awliya Allah are mahfuz. Allah Almighty has protected them. They're not masoom. Masoom are the Anbiya Ikram alayhi salatu wasalam and the Malaika. But the awliya are mahfuz. They are protected from the court of Almighty Allah. And these awliya Allah, because they are able to see by the Noor of Allah, Allah has given them this special power in their vision and in their hearing. And in themselves, then they are able to see and hear and do things which you and I cannot do. Now, people want to ask this question and you want to compare. You cannot compare. But people want to compare. How is it that they can see into the barzakh? How is it that they can see into Law Mahfuz? Why can't we see? They also ordinary, they also humans. We also humans. Yahi aake khata hoti. How can they do a certain thing and how come we can't do a certain thing? Leave alone them and you. Take the person that is muscular and strong, who can pick up 100 kilos by himself, and take the one who is weak and feeble that can't even pick up 20 kilos. Why don't you ask what's the difference between me and him? Simple thing. Why don't you ask the difference between you and him? And then why don't you ask the difference between who has pilot's vision and the one who is wearing spectacles like myself? Put some writing at the back, he will stand from here and he'll be able to see clearly, and I cannot see it until I put this on. So you won't ask, why is it that he can see and I can't see? Then you accept that he is stronger than me, his eyes are better than me. This is Am Insan. What about those who are the beloveds of Allah? Simple math, bhai. Simple math. You cannot work out that between yourselves in your own house, and you want to compare with those who are in the court of Allah so close that Allah is saying, I become the eyes with which He sees. In other words, I become the vision which He sees. Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak radiyallahu anhu ki bargah. It is the court of Sarkar Shaykh Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani radiyallahu anhu. And a merchant, a businessman comes to him. And this is narrated from the authentic narrations of the great mashayikh, that the person's name was Abu Ghalib. Abu Ghalib. He came into the court of Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak radiyallahu anhu. He was a businessman. He was very good with words also. So he came into the court of Sarkar-e Ghaus Azam radiyallahu anhu, and he said, "Oh Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, it is the word of your beloved grandfather sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is the word of your beloved grandfather Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Grandfather because Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak is the descendant of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, both Hassani and Husaini. Okay? So he said, "Oh Shaykh Abdul Qadir, it is the word of your beloved and noble grandfather sallallahu alayhi wasallam that when somebody invites you to something, When we say invite, it means within the Sharia boundaries. When somebody gives you a da'wat, then you should accept his invitation. This is what the beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. He said to Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak. So he said, keeping that word in mind of your beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, your beloved grandfather Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, O Shaykh Abdul Qadir, I would be very honored if you would accept my invitation. See how he asked. I would be very honored if you accepted my invitation. So Sarkar-e-Ghaus, he said, just if you put your Mubarak feet in my house, I will be very happy. So Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh listened to him. And he said, I will give you taklif for a little while to come to my house, please. So Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak listened to what he had to say, and then Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak entered the state of muraqabah. He entered the state of deep spiritual connection between him and his Rabb. Went into a deep state of spiritual meditation. Put his head down. See, and I said this before, we open our eyes to see, they close their eyes to see. उल्टे चाल चलते हैं दीवान गाने इश्क आंखें बंद करते हैं दीदार के लिए. So he closed his eyes, he put his head towards his heart, and for a few moments he kept quiet, and then he said to Abu Ghalib, okay, come, let's go to your house. Let's go. When they got to the house of Abu Ghalib, when they went with Abu Ghalib, one of the people that accompanied Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak radiallahu anhu was Hazrat Sayyidina Ali Hiti radiallahu ta'ala. He was on the right of Ghaus Paak. Ghaus Paak was on a mule, riding a mule, and he was on the right of Ghaus Paak, walking with Ghaus Paak radiallahu. And they came to the house of Abu Ghalib, and when they got there, they had seen that he had prepared a variety of meals, many delicacies. And all the big ulama and the mashayikh of Baghdad were present there at that time. All the greats were present there, because he had invited all of them. He had come last to Ghaus Paak, because he wanted everybody there, and then he could come and say this to Ghaus Paak. And he knew if I said this hadith to Ghaus Paak won't refuse my da'wah. So Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak comes with Hazrat Ali bin Hayti radiallahu ta'ala an. They reach the house of this Tajir Abu Ghalib, and they find all the mashayikh and the ulama there, and all these delicacies and varieties of food has been prepared. After arranging for everybody to sit down, Abu Ghalib goes and he brings a huge clay pot, massive clay pot, with the help of somebody. Brings the clay pot and keeps it in one corner of the hall or the area in the house where the meal was being fed. Okay, so he brought it and kept it in one corner, and he left it there, and it was covered it up and left it. After that he said, Bismillah. He said, all of you please commence. At that time, everybody now is waiting for one thing. When Ghaus Paak takes the first lukuma, then we'll take. But Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh touched nothing. Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anh touched nothing. Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh put his head down and remained silent. Sitting with his head down. Neither did he take one morsel, nor did he give ijazah to those who came with him to take one morsel. And when the people looked at him and the haibat, the overwhelming, awe-inspiring personality of Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak, nobody had the himmat to even put their hand forward. Everybody is waiting for Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh. In that state, Sarkar-e-Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh looks at one of the people who is one of the narrators. And he says to him, you and Ali bin Hayti radiallahu anh, go and pick up that matka, go pick up that big clay pot that's there and bring it here. That man, Abu Ghalib, brought it and left it there. He didn't say a word. Nobody knows what was inside. Which meal was inside there? Was it a biryani or was it dal? All the other delicacies were laid out, but he left that particular huge clay pot kept on the side. And everybody was assuming that would have had water, or it would have had something else that's at the end. But Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh didn't touch any food. Ghaus Paak radiallahu anh said, bring that here by me. And he said, two of them, you go bring it. Because Ghaus Paak knew one is not going to pick it up himself. So they both went and they picked up that huge clay egg and they brought it and kept it in front of Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. When they placed it in front of Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak radiyallahu anhu, Ghaus Paak radiyallahu anhu said, open the lid and look inside. Open the lid and look inside. When they opened the lid, Hazrat Ali bin Hiti radiallahu anhu and the other personality that was with him, when they opened the lid and they looked inside, they were shocked. There was not biryani. There was no sharbat. There was no water. It was a huge pot. There was a child. Who was inside? A little boy who was blind, whose hands were paralyzed and whose legs were ma'zur. He could not walk. He was crippled. He was paralyzed. He was blind. He was put into that huge clay pot and left covered. When they opened it and they saw this, they were shocked and they looked at Ghaus Paak and they said, Ya Shaykh Abdul Qadir, this is a little boy inside here. He cannot see, he cannot walk, he cannot touch, he cannot do anything. Somebody said, this is the son of Abu Ghalib. This is Abu Ghalib's son, he is in this condition. Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani looked at the child in the pot and he said, get up. What did he say? He says, get up. The moment Ghaus Paak said, rise, all the mashayikh and the ulama that are there bear witness that that child who was paralyzed, crippled, could not see, got up. Ghaus Paak said, chalo, walk. Not only walked, he started to run throughout the house. And he started to see and his hands began to move immediately. All those that were present were in awe. All of those were in shock and there was a hangama there that, look at this. This Abu Ghalib brought a child who was in this condition. Shaykh Abdul Qadir just said once, wake up, and he was up. He said walk, and he was walking. Everybody was busy trying to figure out what had happened. Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiyallahu ta'ala, while they were all still talking quietly from the side, he came and left the nafil and went away. Everybody is looking for Shaykh Abdul Qadir. He's gone. The child is now fine. Why did Shaykh Abdul Qadir go? Why did Shaykh Abdul Qadir go? And why did Shaykh Abdul Qadir know? He knew because he sees with the Noor of Allah. He knew because he sees with the Noor of Allah. Nobody but Abu Ghalib knew what was inside there. He could have eaten, he did not eat. He said, bring that. But Ghaus Paak didn't know that then. He knew it when he lowered his head in Muraqabah before he came to the house of Abu Ghalib. Before he came to the house of Abu Ghalib. Even before that he knew. And he walked away without eating because he knew the real invitation was not to eat, but it was to grant cure this child. Mera kaam ho gaya, ab meri kalpe. These are the pious. These are the beloveds of Almighty Allah. These are the true servants of Almighty Allah. That is why Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu has been blessed with this maqam in the court of Almighty Allah, that even the Afthab and the awliya, the qutubs and the abdals, they come to seek blessings on the court of Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak radiyallahu ta'ala an. That is why we should hold firm. When you are a murid in the silsila of Ghaus Paak, and if you have aqidat to Ghaus Paak, you can be murid of any Shaykh Kamil, but somehow or the other it will go through the court of Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak. Because Imam al-Awliya. Sarkar-e Ghaus Paak, if you love him with your heart, Ghaus Paak is telling you, Muridi la takhaf. Oh my disciple, oh my well-wisher, don't fear. Allahu Rabbi. Allah is my Rabb. But Allah is your Rabb and my Rabb. But yeah, Ghaus Paak is saying absolutely, Allahu Rabbi. Muridi la takhaf, Allahu Rabbi. But he's trying to tell you that Muridi, oh my Murid, oh my disciple, oh my well-wisher, don't fear, Allah is my Rabb. In other words, that Rabb who said that when he becomes my beloved, he sees with the eyes of his Rabb. I become the eyes with which he sees. I become the ears with which. What are you frightened for? Muridi la takhaf, Allahu Rabbi. Atani rifatan litul manali. He has given me that maqam and that fadilat. And don't even fright for your enemies. Muridi la takhaf. Washin fa'inni azumun qatilun indal kitali. Azumun qatilun indal kitali. And Ghaus Paak radiallahu ta'ala is saying to us, he's saying to us that all the awliya Allah, all these blessed personalities that were present in that mahfil in Baghdad, even they knew that this is the shan of Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu ta'ala. So we are having this nisbat to Ghaus Paak. Make the nisbat stronger. Make the nisbat stronger. The stronger your nisbat will be, the closer you will be in his court. The closer you are in the court of Ghaus Paak, the closer we are in the court of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't listen to those people, and I'm ending with this. Don't listen to those shayateen who tell you that don't make Ghaus Paak's Gyarvi Sharif. Don't make this niyaz of Ghaus Paak. Don't say Ya Ghaus. Don't say this. Don't say that. The moment they start telling you that, you must know shaitan is near. What are you going to do? La hawla. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And when you hear that, like I remember very quickly, I'm going to tell you something. Maybe it will be beneficial to you. 2 minutes. When I first came after studying Bareli Sharif, people would phone me and invite me for the programs, for Milad Sharif, Gyarvi Sharif, etc. in those days, 32 years before. And they would call me and they would say, Maulana, can you come and lecture at my certain program? I say, okay, no problem. And then they would say, there would be some people who would say, Maulana, but when you come, don't attack. Don't, attack any Wahhabis, this, that. Just give about the topic. So I used to put the phone down. So they used to phone back and they used to say, Maulana, I think the phone got cut. I said, no, I cut it. Why are you telling me to do that which is against the command of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So few times it happened like that. Then one day I thought, no, let me change the system. So when people used to phone and they used to say, and I'm going to tell you that if you do call me and you say this is what will happen. People used to call me and say, Maulana, you know what, this program certain day, can you come? If I'm available, yeah, I can come. But please, don't attack and speak about this. I never used to say yes, inshallah I'll be at your program. So I go there. And there I attack times 10. There I attack times 10. Why? Because chherna shaitan ki aadat kijiye. This we must learn. People, and this is becoming very dangerous, where people are speak about Ghaus Paak, speak about Khalid, but don't tell anything to anybody else. Ghaus Paak, Khaji Garib Nawaz said, love all, hate none. Of course he did. Love all the believers, hate none. Love all those who love Allah and His Rasul, hate none. But he didn't say love those who say that Ghaus Paak is like this, and love those who said that Rasul Paak mar ke mitti mein mil gaye. He didn't say that. So don't misinterpret the words of the beloveds. Don't misinterpret it and use it for your benefit. Interpret it how they said it. Why I'm telling you this is because we make mahfil of Ghaus Paak, we do all of this, but we still want to invite one bad mazhab to come. That person who doesn't believe in Ghaus Paak, you want to call him and give him murgha to eat. This is foolishness. Okay? Rather call a gharib, street sweeper, Sunni Sahihul Aqeedah. It will be better than calling a bad mazhab in that place. Do not invite bad mazhabs to your functions. Whether it's Milad, whether it's Gyarvi Sharif, whether it's Nikah, whether it's anything. Do not invite bad mazhabs. They have no place. Whatever barakat is in your mahfil is going to go away. You're going to lose everything and you're going to be held accountable in the court of Allah. Allah keep us tawfiq and hidayah to understand these things. Allah keep us with iman. Let us leave this world with iman. Those who are ill, Allah grant them shifa, kamil, sahih, ajil. Those that have passed away, Allah exalt them in Jannat al-Na'im. There's a young brother in the UK, Abdullah Masroor, who had a procedure, an operation today. We make dua that Allah Ta'ala allows that procedure to be successful and may he recover swiftly from whatever has happened to the circle of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Wa ma'alin balab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.